Yes, thanks, Matt. Big round of applause for Matt. And everyone else at MacDevOps for doing all the fun stuff. Making this lovely 2 days, 3 days for us all to be together. Anywho, so I'm Wes Whetstone. My talk is called But You Called Me. We'll get into why it's called that later. If you don't know, I moved 10,000 Macs to Fleet. And if you might know me from here, you might know me from here. You also might know me from here. Maybe here. Uber impressions, really cheap, by the way. If you want to troll friends with like ads on Uber going to a house somewhere. Also here, you might have seen me here. Also here. And there. And then also here earlier with myself and myself. Yeah, just in case, deal with it. Anywho, thanks Frogger for finding all those photos last minute. I honestly didn't have them anywhere. Anywho, and Fleet for putting my face everywhere. Anywho, back to the talk. We're gonna do it on fast mode. If anybody uses Claude or Codex, fast mode, better inference, quicker. We're gonna do that. Because it's lunchtime. Matt likes to put me like right before lunch for some reason. And I guess he knows I'll finish up and go eat. Anywho, so about a little while ago, my boss's boss sent me a message similar to this that was he got a nudge. We use nudged for software updates. And the picture was basically the nudge window next to software update. And they had to wait like 40 minutes for the software update to download. And he's like, but you called me. Why are you putting me on hold? Like, that's no fun. It's like literally calling somebody and then being like, oh, hey, by the way, can you wait 40 minutes before you can do the thing I wanted to talk to you about? And I was like, oh, that's a really big problem. We should like fix that. And I like poked around and I was like, oh, Nudge does do software update downloads beforehand if you want, but turns out that's only Intel. If you want to do it on Apple Silicon, you need credentials for the volume owner. And I got into some noodling and thinking, and I was like, oh, I could write like an authorization plugin, because if anybody knows me, I love to do authorization plugins when it comes to like user credentials. But no, I was just like, oh, we probably actually shouldn't do that. And then I ended up talking with, I believe, like Nate Walk and some other folks, possibly from a fruit company. And they were like, oh, if you use declarative, you can actually have declarative download and prepare the update for you. And I was like, oh, I like that. But I'm not like the software update enforcement for declarative. It's like good, but it's not as good as and effective as Nudge at getting people to update. Like Nudge is like really annoying. Declarative is just like, oh, like, hey, if you get a moment, like maybe please do the update. So I was just like, oh, maybe I can combine the two. And since for French cuvée, I also like to do wine and beer and stuff like that, which is blending wines together. But in this case, I'm going to blend two different tools together. So I was like, maybe we can blend Nudge and declarative and get like a really nice workflow going. So we'll use declarative for downloading and preparing the software updates. And then but we'll skip like the notifications from DDM because we want to keep it like just strictly Nudge. And then we only want to trigger Nudge once we know the update is downloaded and prepared for folks. So, but how do we do that? Let's start with like downloading and preparing the software update. You can use this declaration or one similar to it to say, hey, we want to enforce this software version by a particular time and that particular version. But don't just YOLO a declaration like this to your fleet if you have a big fleet. There's one thing that happens when you do this, and that Apple is really good at making sure that every single one of those devices, when they get to the declaration, starts downloading that update. So if you have a small network and a large amount of Macs, you might run into trouble. And you're like, oh, but caching servers. Go try and buy a Mac Mini right now and set up a caching server. I dare you. Maybe 12 to 16 weeks. Thanks, AI. Anywho. The second one, what we wanted to do is we want to turn off the notifications for Apple's built-in software update mechanism. And you can do that with the simple notifications false. on the software update config settings declaration. And the next one, what we wanted to do, this is where the fun part begins, is we wanted to indicate to Nudge that the software update is downloaded and prepared. So after like having AI go through like reverse engineering as much as the OS as possible, trying to figure out like a native way to do this, you can actually trigger it via a sorry, a little bit out of order. You can trigger it via a simple activation. One of the status items that you get back from declarative here is going to be the install state. So declarative will actually tell you when the update is actually prepared and it's ready to go. And then you can use a very simple activation, literally, back to the legacy profile. And in the legacy profile that you'll trigger once the software update is prepared, you can put your configs for Nudge in that profile. And then Nudge will run and it'll be like, cool, I am now ready to enforce this OS version. And then you'll get a pop-up and people will be like, oh, wow, hey, the update's done and prepared. And the only thing I have to do is hit restart now. And that takes like 5 or 10 minutes versus like 30 minutes to wait for it to download. Or not, well, not to download, depending on your network. Your mileage may vary. But yes, so time savings is great here. When I started doing some math, I realized that beforehand, the update would do roughly, it would take like 30 to 40 minutes. And if you have like, I don't know, 12,000, 13,000 people, and you're saving 30 minutes, and Apple does about 8-ish updates a year. And then if you put a price tag next to people's time, that's a big savings. And employers like it whenever you save time, and that saves money. So yeah. Anywho, it's lunchtime. Hopefully that was less than 5 minutes.